Hello, and welcome to today's very special ASMR My World. This is the 4th episode, and with us today is Tome by Tome ASMR. Now, Tome by Tome ASMR is a strictly audio artist who does videos on YouTube and uses the medium of audio to get her message across. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I also listen to many audio artists that do ASMR, like Tome by Tome, and I enjoy what they do. They convey their message strictly through sound and through, the use of their voice. And it's not that easy. One of the reasons I chose to narrate this series only through audio was to keep the focus on the artist that's being featured. Well, in this case, I have my work cut out for me. We have a wonderful artist who suffers from chronic pain issues. And she's going to talk about how ASMR helps in her everyday life to keep her going. Now, her chronic pain was brought on by physical trauma from an accident. Most of the people that have talked up till now have had a physiological disorder, some kind of illness or disease that isn't quite understood by science yet. And how does ASMR help with those kind of illnesses? In this case, we have somebody who was injured in a very severe accident, and it's a physical problem. Now, how does ASMR help with physical injury? Can it help the body heal? Can it help the body find new pathways, new avenues to lessen the chronic pain, to bring peace and comfort to the person? Of course, we think that it can, but what does this artist have to say about it? Remember, this is a very unique opportunity. This isn't a viewer or an audience member. This is an actual artist who is having some of the same problems you are having. And what brought you to ASMR is what drives this person every day to create new material to help you. The perspective is very unique, and it helps us all relate to what our audience is going through. And the bottom line in this series is we're trying to reach out to people so they're not going it alone. You may know you're not alone, but you may feel you're alone. You may feel left out by society or rejected or not accepted due to your illness, due to your chronic pain, due to the disease you have. We're here to show you that not only are you, the audience member, not alone, our fellow artists aren't alone either. We're not leaving them behind. We are going to stand here and witness with them what they go through. And we're going to take it a step further. We're going to make sure that you know we do understand. Sometimes in life, people really do want to reach out and help other people. They really do. And this is a case where all the artists I have talked to have been very vocal about getting their message out there. And if they can help just one person find some peace and have a better life, they're willing to do it. And I'm willing to present it to you, my audience. And I think you know I'm right on this. So if you have the opportunity, don't forget to rate, share, and leave a nice comment. It really does help. It's hard to get this out, and a new series is always hard to start with. And I'm proud of the results so far. I think we could do better. And doing better means you've got to help. And it's not that hard. Sharing is caring. And liking, leaving a comment, subscribing, all of those things are free. They cost you nothing. And I'm asking you to help for free. Okay? So if you have the time, like, share, comment, pass it on. Let friends know. If you hear somebody out there that's suffering, tell them about how ASMR helps and tell them they can find artists that work for them. Not all artists work for everyone. Everybody has their favorite, and everybody has that artist they go to for sleep. They go to that artist for comfort. They go to that artist for relaxation. There's different reasons we go to different artists. So make sure your friends are willing to put in the time and find the artist that works for them. Okay? I think I've talked long enough. I really enjoyed this specific podcast. It's wonderful that we have a veteran of our armed services that went through a very traumatic experience and is willing to be brave enough to discuss it and share it with us today. And anybody that knows me knows I'll do anything I can to help the troops. And I don't just say that. I have done videos specifically for a soldier out there in need. And this soldier is someone I want to showcase to you today because she has a message and a story and a witness that we need to hear. All right? Happy New Year, everyone. We'll see you next week with a wonderful new artist, a very young, wonderful new artist that I'm going to introduce the whole world to. And she's fantastic. And then we've got a couple guys lined up, too. So we're going to start having some male artists get involved, too. So that's all coming up in January. We have some really great stuff coming. So don't give up on the series, and we'll see all of you soon. TirarADeguello, you've talked too long. Get off the air. We want to see what she has to say. Okay. Bye-bye, everyone. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Hello, my darling, and welcome to today's story time. This is how I begin every episode if you've ever watched or listened to me. Today we're doing something more like my comfort audios, and I am so excited to be part of this new series about chronic pain and its amazing connection to ASMR as created by Tirar. So, this is my story. Chronic pain is far more than a physical sensation. It's physically draining and sometimes unbearable, to be sure. But it begins to weigh on you mentally, more and more every day, especially on your bad days. Sometimes the bad days are so bad you can't get out of bed and your mental health drops dangerously. You just want to sleep. You just want to feel rested. You just want to wake up and feel like a normal person without being in agony. And the bad days are made worse because you've grown used to your normal days the days when your pain level is below a 6. On those days, you think you can conquer the world because they're so much better than the bad days. And you'd give anything to have those normal days back. Sometimes you can't imagine making it through your bad day, and you begin to go to dark places, really dark places. You begin to question your sanity, and you begin to think that the bad days will never end. Chronic pain can be one of the most difficult things to endure in life because it is your life. You hurt every day for no reason at all. You wake up feeling completely unrested, and your mental health never seems to right itself because you can only endure so much. And that level of pain has become your new normal. This is your life. You hurt, and you get through your day as best you can. You stop telling people about it, and you might even put on a brave face because that too is your new normal. You think that no one wants to hear about your pain because you begin to feel that that is all you talk about sometimes. You don't want to be that person that is always complaining or always bringing up your pain. There's nothing anyone can do about it anyway, so they don't need to know. So you stop reaching out. You stop trying. You suffer in silence and think that is the only way. It's so hard. I know that you know exactly how hard it is. My story with chronic pain begins 17 years ago when I served in the United States Army. I was completing a regular training exercise with my platoon, and we were climbing a rope to the top of a 30-foot tower, and we were meant to rappel once we got to the top. I was excited, and I was having a fantastic day. I remember it was scorching hot, as most days were in South Carolina in the summer. But I was living my dream and feeling like a superhero, learning new physical feats and feeling confident in my capabilities. But then the rope that I was on began to tear, and I fell. I hit the ground so hard the wind was knocked out of me. I remember laying there in so much pain that I thought that I had died. I heard voices, shouting, panicked. I saw boots near my head and hands reaching down. But the training exercise was far from over, so I was righted onto my feet, dusted off, and pushed towards the next course. I remember running, but having no control over my legs, even though they held me upright. I was crying, but I could not get any sounds out. I could not have made it more than a few feet before I passed out. I awoke in my bunk the next day with a very angry bunkmate asking if my heat stroke felt any better yet. I love the army, but when you're in training, there are so many soldiers and so few leaders. No one knows what to do with an injured person, and you quickly become another of the faceless injured. We were all injured in some way or another, really. So, for the next 3 days, I went on as was expected of me. I completed the marches. I performed my duties. I thought I had just had a bad fall and that I was bruised, but that everything was okay. Clearly, I was okay if they wanted me to keep up my normal tasks and physical fitness, right? But I wasn't okay. I was so far from okay. I had a tremendous limp. I cried silently with tears streaming down my face at every step I took. Everyone assumed I just missed my home or that I was just too hot. It wasn't until I got pneumonia so badly my face became swollen that I was sent to sick bay. There, I was treated for pneumonia and immediately admitted to make sure it didn't spread. Any sort of lung disease or illness is taken very seriously in a career that relies on physical fitness. It wasn't until my pneumonia was nearly gone and I was about to be released that a doctor noticed my limp. He took one look at me and rushed me to X-ray, then in for a bone scan, and then into my new room where I was admitted for 2 weeks for recovery. I had fractured my pelvis, nearly shattered my inferior pubic ramus, and in the process had severed multiple nerves in my spine. All of this amounted to an enormous amount of pain and a lifetime of forever pain. Pain that would be with me until the day I died. Pain that would mean I could not live out my dreams as an attorney in the army. Pain that meant I would never feel rested or mentally sound ever again. Pain that meant my body would never be strong enough to carry children. And at the age of 20, it meant that I was on my way to a medical discharge as a disabled, honorably discharged veteran. The next few months were a blur. No one knew quite what to do with me, but I was still able to perform all of my known physical duties, so it wasn't so urgent that I was discharged. And I was in a long line of injured soldiers who, after joining following September 11th, 2001, were hurt in one way or another. Mainly because the majority of new recruits at the time were nowhere near the level of physical fitness required by the Army. But also, there were just so many new soldiers that there was barely room to put us all, let alone deal with issues that came up, however serious. Eventually, I was transferred to a physical rehab facility housed right next to the drill sergeant's school. Every day, we hobbled on our crutches to a light bit of physical activity, which for me meant walking for no more than 10 minutes on my crutches and stretching for the remainder of our blocked time. Then chow, then whatever duties we had been trained in. I was lucky enough to be working in my MOS at the time, which was a 27 Delta or paralegal, and I was allowed to continue my role in the law offices. This would be followed by chow, free time, and sleep, to be repeated the next day ad infinitum, all while we watched the drill sergeants training and moving on, and new drill sergeants coming in. Eventually, I received my honorable discharge and came home a confused and still very physically damaged veteran. It takes weeks to come back to the real world mentally after the military, even if you never served in combat. You feel as though you're in a dream, that nothing is real. You've become so used to a regimented life that you don't know how to behave on your own, or when to do simple things like eat dinner, or what you're even supposed to be doing at a given moment. Eventually, you realize that you aren't supposed to be doing anything, unless you have a job, of course. But that takes a while to come to as well. And the thing about pain like I suffered, pain that becomes chronic pain, is that you'll spend decades apologizing to people for having a bad day. Apologizing because you hurt today. Apologizing because you can't do things that you used to be able to do. Until you realize that the pain is simply a part of you now. You either hide it from the people around you and the people you love, or you don't. I recently had this conversation with my mother and husband because they began to see the amount of pain that I'm in, and they began to dictate my life, telling me I needed to rest more, telling me I shouldn't do this activity or that activity because I'd be hurting the next day. And I had a mental snap, a breakdown, a moment when I realized that they had no idea what it was like to actually be in chronic pain. I've always had pain this bad. I've always had insomnia this bad. I've always awoken feeling like I have a wine hangover. Telling me that I need to slow down just makes me want to go back to hiding things, which is far easier than being honest. And telling me that I need to rest frustrates me beyond words, because I'd sell my soul to Satan right now, sign the dotted line, to be able to get more than 3 hours of sleep at night. But I can't, and I never could. The insomnia from my pain keeps me up, and the pain wakes me up. This is life with chronic pain. This is what people don't understand. And this feeling of being overwhelmed by your pain transfers so easily into feelings of anxiety and depression, because they're all connected to who you are completely. You're never separated from your pain, whether it's chronic physical pain or anxiety or depression. It's always there. There are moments when it's lessened, and there are moments when it's not so bad and you feel normal or your level of normal. But that difference is what people don't understand. And it is so completely isolating. The only relief that I have ever found is in ASMR. And it's something that I found completely by accident. It was about 2 years ago, and I was lying awake with a mind that wouldn't stop turning. YouTube recommended an ASMR darling video of triggers to help you sleep. Knowing nothing about ASMR or what triggers could even be, I put on the video with normal skepticism. But then something happened. I felt warm and fuzzy in my ears. I felt the sensation, almost a whole body sensation of relaxation for the first time in years. My computer speakers weren't the best, so I put on a pair of headphones and was then transfixed for hours. I never wanted the feeling to end, even though it made me relaxed enough to finally fall asleep. Every single day since, I've watched ASMR. I've found so many ASMR artists and channels, and I began to seek out triggers. First, because it's how I was first introduced to ASMR. I preferred the whispered voice. But then I came across a GBASMR soft-spoken episode, and it gave me the same feelings. I realized that I preferred the speaking and taking care of you episodes more than anything else, because they made me feel safe, not alone, at peace with everything, as though I had a friend listening, knowing me on my worst days, seeing that I was hurting and offering comfort for the sake of comfort, and not loving me any less because of it. And for the first time since my injury, I began to fall asleep easier, and I began to sleep a bit better. Sometimes I slept through the entire night. Without ASMR, I don't know where I would be right now. I don't even know if I'd be anymore. If the pain and loneliness from hiding my pain would have sent me on an even darker path. I simply don't know. Because chronic pain is so eternal, so completely overwhelming in body, mind, and spirit. And you never know how you'll feel from one day to the next. Realizing this, realizing how hard it is to be isolated, and how difficult even the simplest of tasks can be, and how hard it was to tell my family and make them understand. So I began making ASMR. I'm a literary nerd, and I thought, since I liked talking videos so much, that maybe those should be the kind I started with. I saw a Brothers Grimm fairy tale compendium on my shelf, and I immediately knew what I wanted to do. The ASMR that I make now is almost entirely made for me, for what I would have wanted, and what I do want to experience through ASMR. When I became more confident, I wrote my first chronic pain, comforting you ASMR script. I explained my story, and I offered comfort and positive affirmations for what I know people with chronic pain experience. I realized that the most important, most significant aspect was connecting with people to let them know that they were not alone. That's what I needed on my darkest days, on the days when I couldn't reach out, even to my husband or mother, on the days when I couldn't even hold normal conversations because I felt like such a burden to others. I needed to know that I would be okay. I needed to know that I wasn't alone. And most of all, I needed to know that my pain is not something I need to apologize for. It is a part of who I am, and nothing can change that. If I hide it, it changes nothing, but it puts a larger burden on me. It's okay for me to tell people when I'm in pain and to complain when I'm hurting, to say to someone that I would love to spend time with them, but I'm afraid my pain level is too severe and we won't have any fun. Because the thing is that your friends and family want to spend time with you, even on your bad days. Maybe particularly on your bad days. Because you are the same person even in your worst pain. Because your pain doesn't define you. This is a bit of an anecdote. I am a huge fan of Winnie the Pooh because when I was a little girl, my father would read my sister and me the stories. There's a quote that has always stuck in my mind. I used it when speaking with a subscriber recently, and I hope he doesn't mind that I'm using it again here. In the story, Pooh is having a bad day, and it's generally Eeyore that feels sad, and we've come to expect him to be eternally depressed. But we love him anyway. He's loved by everyone in the Undertaker Wood, regardless of how he is feeling mentally. But on a bad day for Winnie the Pooh, you would expect Piglet to tell him to cheer up, because being sad isn't normal for Pooh. But Piglet doesn't do this. When Pooh says, "I don't feel very much like Pooh today," Piglet responds, "There, there, I'll bring you honey and tea until you do." That is what friends and family do for you, even on your worst days. I had quickly found the ASMR community as a listener to connect more with my favorite creators and see when new episodes would be posted. The community was extraordinarily welcoming, especially it seemed to listeners who used ASMR for chronic pain and other issues like anxiety, depression, insomnia. it was even more welcoming when I became a creator. I felt friendship, camaraderie, the need to help others, and I saw the worth of what we were doing and what we were building and how we helped people out of their lonely, darkest days. And I knew exactly what ASMR brought into my life, and I knew exactly how it could help others, especially those who I knew suffered just like I did. I felt like Winnie the Pooh, having a bad day, but knowing that my friends would still be there for me, regardless. But even though ASMR isn't new and people have been experiencing feelings, the sensation, since for ages, you have only to look at Bob Ross videos to know how many children it was putting to sleep back in the 80s and 90s, right? And the thing is that it's hard to explain to people what ASMR can do because it's such a private sensation that you only experience in certain moments. And it can be so simple. The very first time that I remember specifically the sensation, the warming of my ears, the comfort, the feeling of just peace. I was in the drive-thru at an Arctic Circle, and the cashier was an older lady, and she just had a very sweet demeanor. But something about the way she handed me the change and counted it, and in her voice and tone, that gave me true feelings of ASMR. The comfort, the peace, the warm fuzziness in your ears and back of your head. Of course, I didn't know it was ASMR at the time, but I think on that now, and I think back on little moments like that in my life, and I realize that it's something that is so needed for people. And the thing is, with ASMR, that anything is possible. Even in the creators, there's role plays of every sort. The taking care of you videos, positive affirmations, simple rambles. Everything is different, but it can elicit the same warm and cozy sensations. I firmly believe that ASMR saves lives. I know that it saved mine. I have no doubt that it has given me back a large portion of my mental health. And it's definitely given me a stronger, more positive outlook about myself. And this is what ASMR is meant for. This is what ASMR has given to people. And that is my story. And I am so proud to be part of Gerard's project on chronic pain. And as I end all my videos, have very sweet and creepy dreams.